welcome back to our channel. Today we have a little something different. You don't even know.
I have no idea.
You have no idea what we're talking about yet. So I don't know why, but this is for whatever reason yesterday, because we were gonna make a video yesterday, and then we had a whole host of things going on. We had some water things. If you guys don't know, we live on an off-grid sustainable farm in South Africa. But our water pump was going off, so you had to run around with the baby in your arms while I was trying to give myself a haircut. So we didn't get to a video yesterday, but here we are this morning. And so quickly yesterday, for whatever reason, I decided to put in the search bar on YouTube twin flame and just see what was the first thing that came up. And so this video was the first thing that came up. I'm gonna have James watch it now because I think it's a really interesting talking point, and I think we all should be talking about this more, especially if you do believe in twin flames, that this is a really important thing to be talking about. So without further ado, go ahead and watch the video.
If you grew up with childhood trauma and one or both of your parents violated the sacred pact between a parent and a child that you shall be loved and protected by them, then by necessity your little spirit developed a fantasy to explain why to other people your parents looked like shitty parents. Maybe you learned to layer a fantasy that you were loved and cared for over a reality where you really weren't. You were neglected. This is where the twin flame idea comes from. This person you're in love with doesn't love you back, but you find a way to spiritualize their unavailability. Call it a lesson from the universe or a mirror or anything you can, because the truth feels like an existential threat. You'll believe the fantasy until the day comes that you're healed enough to let go and open up to the possibility of actually being loved by a real person who loves you.
That's heavy.
It is heavy. First thing in the morning as
I know.
well.
You haven't even
I
had
haven't
your
had my
first
coffee
sip
yet.
of coffee yet. Do you want your first sip of coffee?
It's still
too
hot for me.
Okay. Oh, sorry. So this idea, right? And I'm gonna stitch the video in so everyone else can see the video. And I don't know who this person is. She has a lot of videos, seemingly on like relationship type things or stuff like that. But it's an interesting point, you know, like. I don't know. It hit me big time because obviously I believe in twin flames. But I was
more your thing than my thing, ultimately.
But also I was in a relationship like that one that she's describing, and I thought that person was my twin flame, right? So I was in a narcissistic, codependent relationship, and I did think that that person was my twin flame until the day that I became healed enough to be like, oh wait, no, I do.
I'm ready now.
You're ready.
Sorry, carry on.
We can now have this conversation. So I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting. What are your thoughts on the fact that twin flame is literally just a fantasy? Is that what you think too? Yeah.
Clearly, she thinks that we're just in love, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, and part of me thinks that that's what really matters, you know. But what is your thoughts on this idea that twin flame is only a concept made up from a wound of somebody not being loved? Because a lot of twin flame relationships are like that. They find this person that rejects them or is toxic towards them. They label them as their twin flame, and then they say, "Oh, I'll never be in union, or I'll never be with my twin flame because of all these toxic things that are going on." Like, what is your perspective on that? You think it's a real thing, or you think it's just a figment of our imaginations?
I think it's a bit of both. I think it definitely, there's some validity to it. I mean, there's definitely some truth to a twin flame. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean,
You look so pretty. Just had to say it.
Thank you. I shaved yesterday, put a collar shirt on, and Serena cut my hair, so I'm looking prim and proper today for once in a very long time. As I was saying, there's definitely some truth behind all of it. I mean, there is a lot of people who probably do have kind of, I suppose it's more of a wrong interpretation of a twin flame, which is what that lady was talking about, where they've kind of had those traumatic experiences in the past where they want to find somebody who they can love, but they believe that person shouldn't love them back. And that is one interpretation maybe of a twin flame. It's not necessarily the interpretation. I don't think there is particularly one.
Yeah.
I think the twin flame concept has many different factions within it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, to a degree, I mean, the whole idea of the twin flame, having a partner who you struggle with and you go through all these battles, then you end up eventually coming back to each other and really like building a strong bond and being the right person for one another. I believe that's true. I mean, we went through that. It's definitely not a bunch of baloney.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely an interesting concept, and there's definitely a lot of truth to it. And I think it just comes up to the person. Do they believe that they need to chase this person who won't love them, or do they believe that they actually are deserving
Worthy of
of this love?
Yeah.
Because if you're saying that you don't really believe you need this love, but you need to give it to this person as much as you can and see if they'll come back, you're not going to end up receiving it majority of the time. Not all the time. There will be times where it isn't so. But I think that for the most part, if you don't believe you deserve that person's love and appreciation, you won't get it. And it might just be that that's not the right person. It could just be that your mindset towards it might not be correct. So a lot of times it is what you put into it. I mean, for me at least, I know with us, when we had our separation or that, there weren't many days that I let go past I wasn't trying to send you a message or a short video or voice note. Bless you,
Bless
Baba.
you.
Or doing whatever I could within my own power to be there at the same time in the only way that I could. And I think that's where the definition kind of changes. It's if you put in the work, you get the results. If you don't put in the work in the right mindset, you won't get the results that you actually ultimately want.
Yeah. Well, I think that's an interesting point too, because I was thinking about the times, like me considered being the runner, right?
Yeah.
And I remember also like some of the fears I had around, like, is this really my twin flame? Is this not? Was like when I was talking to my previous partner. So as a lot of you guys know, I was in a different karmic relationship when I met James. And when I went back to him, we were talking about you, and he was like, oh yeah, you'd be bored with him in like 6 months, like he's too much of a nice guy. Like, so there was a big part of me that still had that toxic, so as exactly as this lady is talking about, like this fantasy of like, unhealed and not being loved. Like I still had that within me, and I was thinking towards him that you were going to be too nice, or you wouldn't have enough spark, or you wouldn't push me enough. But that was me being gaslit actually by my toxic partner, because he still wanted the control, and he still wanted obviously me to be with him so he could control me. And, so I do think that that's really interesting, because I feel like I fit both of those categories. Like I've been exactly where that lady is talking about, which is exactly where a lot of twins are. Is in this place of being unhealed, thinking that you're not worthy of having this person in your relationship. And in fact, that's usually what the whole real separation stage in the twin flame dynamic is all about.
Yeah.
Is like, you have to heal that part of yourself that thinks you're not worthy for this. Yeah. We kind of met in this very fantastical way. Like a lot of times when I tell people the story of how we met, they're like, wow, that could be a movie. And it could, because it is like this fantasy idea. So like when twin flames get this thing of like, it's just a fantasy, you're just romanticizing toxic things. I understand that, because it does seem fantastical.
When we met, suddenly there was a bit of like gasoline poured onto the fire, and we both realized we got to get our shit together.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely a big expansion point for sure. It allowed both of us to, and I think that's why, like, I was reading some of the comments on this video. Hi, Papa. I was reading some of the comments on this video, and some people were saying, oh yeah, 100%. Like when I healed myself, I realized like I do deserve to be loved. And like this whole idea of like this twin flame that, is a mirror to you, and like is only there to reflect your biggest wounds, and like all this stuff like is a bunch of baloney. And then, and then there was, yes. And then there was, there was also people who were saying, actually, like, if you really met your twin flame, like, there's no mistaking. Like, you have to look outside, elsewhere for answers. And I don't mean that like in a, because spiritually, obviously, we're always looking inside for answers, but like that's what causes, because this is such a radical thing, it's what causes you to look outside for answers. Like, what is this relationship? Who is this person? Why is this happening? And I think that's why the concept of a twin flame even exists, because when it really is real, I think there is a lot of people out there that are romanticizing toxic traits in partners and are romanticizing narcissistic dynamics, codependent dynamics, and all kinds of stuff. Do you want to be held?
Well, as well, a lot of it's got to do with the law of attraction. What you think you deserve is what you're going to get, regardless of what you say. Because on the inside, you could be saying, "Oh, I want this," and more on the outside, you can be saying like, "These are all the things that I really want." But on the inside, if you don't truly feel that way, you're not going to attract that.
Yeah.
Because your words are powerful, but they're only so powerful. Your inner feelings and what you actually truly feel about yourself, and the things that you don't say out loud to other people, except for your significant others, a lot of the times, is what is actually going to come to you in the way. Yeah, this is what you're going to see. It's what you're going to receive.
Yeah.
And until you're able to change that dynamic and actually start to speak what you actually want and acknowledge that sometimes life's difficult and things don't always work out to be exactly the way you want it to be, you're not really going to go forward. You kind of, thank you for agreeing with me, Baba. You kind of have to embrace the fact that sometimes shit is hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sucks, but that's life.
Yeah.
And that's part of the journey, and that's part of what actually makes it that much more worthwhile and that much more like you just want to grab onto it, because things aren't meant to be easy.
No.
I mean, I've always said, if everything in life was easy, what would be the point? Because there'll be no adventure. There wouldn't really be anything worthwhile doing if everything always came easily and you always got it right the first time.
Yeah, I kind of lost you there. What, like, how does that tie into what we're talking about? The fact that it's not easy. How does that tie into, like, is this a twin flame thing or is it not? Are you talking about because of the wounds and the law of attraction type thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying earlier. It is a bit of the law of attraction. There is a lot of wounds to it, and until you're able to really accept those things within yourself and accept that these are part of you and part of your life and part of the journey and part of everything that you're going to be exploring from before, during, and after, if you can't accept that, you're going to kind of hinder yourself.
And you think those are the people, just to put it back into the twin flame terms, because that's the lens that a lot of people are looking at this through.
Fair enough.
So I'm just trying to make connections here so that people understand exactly. And maybe they do already understand what you're talking about, and I'm the one that's missing it. But either way, I need to know. So, so to put that back into like twin flame speak, like essentially what you're saying is like the people that aren't willing to accept that are going to be the ones that probably are attracting these toxic, codependent relationships, or they're going to be the ones that don't make it all the way to union because they can't accept that, like, this is the hard part of life and you have to take a really good look. Like, I had to take a really good look at myself when we were in separation, because I had to look at where, and I still do it. There's still things that follow us from separation into union. Like, I still try to push you away a lot of times. I still try to put up walls. We both do.
Yeah, we both do.
Around certain things. And I had to take a really hard look at myself and ask, like, why did I get myself into this toxic relationship that I was in before you? And it was because I didn't believe I was worthy of the love that I wanted to have. Like, that's the main reason. Like, I wanted something because I was afraid and because I was trying to, get out of something else. And that's why I attracted the relationship I was in. Yeah, I was running. And it was literally my ability to stop running that kept pulling me towards you. Like, I would run and then I would have to surrender again, and then I would run and then I would surrender. And you really have to take a hard look at yourself, right? Because if you're not willing to take a hard look at yourself and see, where am I, pardon my French, fucking it up? Where am I responsible for what's coming to me? Because yes, we can play the victim all day long, right? And say, it's like,
it's an easy place to be as well.
Yes, it's really easy to play the victim,
But the victim's mentality, it's always easier to be like, okay, well, everything's just not going my way because it's this and that and the other, or however you want to go about it. But until you're willing to actually accept that, some of this is within your own power for you to actually be like, there's things that I need to look at now within myself, and we go through this fairly often, and it's something that doesn't end. I think it's something very important for people to know, that it never just stops and becomes easy.
No.
When you want something like this that's really truly going to work between two people who really love each other, like what we do, which is the greatest thing in the world to ever experience, there's no moments where we're ever just sitting you agree, where we're ever just like, oh well, this is fucking easy going, and you know, life is fantastic, which, not that I'm saying it's not, because it always is, but to have that means that you have to actually try, and you have to go through some struggles, and you actually have to put the work in, both into yourself, into your partner, and into the union as a whole. Because without that extra effort into all three of those things, you don't actually move forward. You become very stagnant. And if you you agreed with everything that I'm saying, Bubby? Thank you. You have to put that energy into it, because that's how things move forward. You can never get into a place where you like, okay, well, this is all I'm going to do, and then the rest must just kind of work itself out, and I'm just going to sit here pretty. It doesn't work that way. You have to put that effort in.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point that you bring up, because I do think in this video that this woman is talking about, a lot of people do have this fantasy of this like perfect relationship where the two people love each other, and then what happens after union is like you just create this magical, beautiful life, which is true.
It is true.
But nobody actually really wants a perfect relationship. Like if you're watching this right now and you are a twin flame, like what you truly don't actually want is the perfect relationship. What you really want is somebody who's willing to go through it all with you, and somebody who's willing to like look at the hard stuff and believe in you and support you the way they should, you know, because that's what you do for me, is like no matter what it is, thank you, no matter what it is, like we're always willing to support each other through, and that's the most important part of our relationship, and that we don't stop growing. Like that is the main thing of our entire relationship. It's not that it's perfect, it's not that we have this perfect life as we're sitting in our half completed house, you know, with our baby, and you know, like it's not that it's like this perfect relationship. It's that what we want is, we want a fulfilling relationship. We want somebody that we can grow over the duration, over the duration of our life. Like that's what we really want at the end of the day.
I mean, ultimately, that is essentially a perfect relationship. I think that there's a difference between a perfect relationship and a perfect relationship, because a lot of people are so caught up in kind of what you see in the movies, all these things where
you think
everything will be perfect and like nothing ever goes wrong.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in real life, that's not the case. There are really, really struggling times. There's going to be times where you're really not going to be in a great place. But ultimately, when you find that really one true partner of yours, you want it to be somebody who, no matter how hard the times get, no matter how good the times are, no matter what the situation, you've got this person who's by your side throughout everything, who's there to support you and love you no matter what. And it's the way that I was brought up, is that when you find a true partner, it's someone who loves you even at your worst and really appreciates you at your best.
Yeah.
Because you can't have one without the other. You got to, when you want to be in a proper relationship with someone, like with us, with our twin flame relationship, which is a true twin flame relationship.
It's funny to me that you actually think that, because I thought maybe like
feel that way.
I thought maybe after watching that video that you would be like, oh yeah, like that's totally right, you know, like. So it's interesting for me to see your perspective, because you are more science-based and you are more like see it to believe it kind of person, that you still are like, oh no, this is still a twin flame relationship, like even after seeing that.
Well, for me as well, all these things that they just terminologies. It's a bunch of words trying to describe something bigger into a very small amount of space.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, of course I believe in the twin flame relationship kind of idea, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I have to be spiritual or religious in any way, or scientific or anything like that. It's just got to do with, it's a very simple, quick way of explaining a very big topic.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, life's not easy, but it's a little bit easier when you've got the right person by your side.
Yeah.
And
No,
that's what it
100%.
all comes down to. And when you've got a beautiful family like what we do, it puts things in perspective, and it just makes things so much better. Hi, beautiful. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, I mean, as well, obviously while we've been together, I've learned a lot more about the spirituality and about the twin flames and that's why I'm also a lot more comfortable using the terminology now, because I have a better understanding of it, because for one, we live in it.
Yeah.
And two, you've given me a lot of knowledge, and I think, and I hope that I've given you a lot of knowledge from my side as well, to just see the same thing from a different perspective, and to have different terminologies being pulled into it to actually help people understand more of what it actually truly is.
Yeah, well, I mean, this obviously, like, this entire channel wouldn't really be possible without you, because, like, you know, and that's kind of part of what I wanted in my life human experiences. I kind of wanted a muse, and you've kind of provided that, because for me, I know no matter what we go through, like, we will always change, we will always evolve. It'll always give me something to talk about. Like, when I first started this YouTube channel, if you guys look way back in the videos, like, I was talking about being a highly sensitive person. I was talking about different spiritual principles. And then the ones that started taking off were after I met you and decided to, and I actually had to surrender to this too. I didn't want to make videos about twin flames, because I was like, that's way too out there. Like, people are going to think I'm crazy. Like, I don't even know if this person's in my twin flame, because I started my YouTube channel when we were in separation.
Yeah.
And it was actually when I surrendered to the fact that, like, I did meet my twin flame, and this is what I'm going through right now. And I'm just going to talk about the things I'm going through. And that has continued to this day. Like, to this day, I still get on here and I talk about what I'm going through. We get on here, we talk about what we're going through and what we've been through. And so, like, the twin flame is something that makes your life evergreen, because you're always going through different challenges and different experiences with this person, you know?
I mean, as well, it's like people might say, like, the whole twin flame idea is very, like, out there and very, like, woohoo, kind of, however you want to.
Woo-woo.
Woo-hoo.
Not woo-woo, it's woo-woo.
I'm sorry, that terminology didn't reach Africa until recently, okay?
So, ultimately, in terms of that video, like, 100% there is people out there that are operating for the twin flame dynamic, like, under this toxic, like you were saying, law of attraction is gonna dictate that like, if you do believe you're not worthy of it, you're going to keep getting people that, you know, reflect that back to you. And sometimes even your twin might reflect that back to you in the beginning, which I think is what spurs off separation stage for a lot of people, is it shows you all the places that you're wounded and all the things that need to be healed before you can really fully appreciate this other person in front of you. Yeah,
I mean, I think that's also the best, maybe not the best, but one of the really good parts about when you meet your true flame is that they do make you look at things that you don't want to look at. There always are going to be the true and the false twin flames, and it's up to you to determine ultimately if what that is and what that is for you, because every person is different.
Yeah.
So that lady holds a lot of truth to what she says,
but not all the truth.
But not all the truth, and I don't
because
think
the truth is up to you at the end of the day.
No one person has all the truth for every single person, and that's never going to happen. Exactly. So you need to determine what is your truth, and if you can determine what your truth is,
then anybody's truth doesn't matter.
And you will live the best, most incredible life you could possibly live for you.
Yeah.
That's not going to suit everybody else. Hopefully it suits your twin flame, because that's ultimately the goal, because that's essentially the whole idea
exactly,
of it.
That you both want that same thing.
And that doesn't mean everything has to be the same. I mean, we don't want all the same things all the time.
No.
But ultimately our goal is to be...
But we have the same values, and we want the same trajectory for our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. That was a really good way to end this. And I'm glad you brought that up, because it is true. Like, yes, that might be some people's truth, and that might not be somebody else's truth. But what is most important is that you carry your own truth, and that you find somebody that aligns with that truth with you. You know, like, I could have brought up twin flame to you in the beginning, and you could have been like, that's a bunch of bullshit and you're crazy and I don't want to deal with you anymore. And that's valid, because that would have been your truth. But then that also shows me, okay, this isn't the person that I thought you were, and this isn't my twin flame, because my twin flame would never respond that way, right? So I think you brought up a really good point, is you need to know your truth. They need to know their truths, and your truths need to align together, and it's as simple
To
as
a
that.
degree, not entirely.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, your life philosophies and things like that. There definitely can be differences because we
There
have
has to be.
differences all the time. Yeah, because you need that also to help charge and grow the relationship.
Yeah.
Good job.
You too.
I'm proud of you.
Thanks, Abby.
Yeah. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, do all the things that you're supposed to do here on YouTube to show that you like things. Comment down below what you think about this video, what you think about her video. Like, what is your thoughts on that? There's tons of comments on her video, but we'd love to know your thoughts. And yeah, check out the links below. We have tons of amazing things coming out this year. If you're looking for my relationship repair course, check that out in the link below, and we'll see you in the next video. Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye.